everyone could have a seat so we can get started. My name is Paul Gotham with class of 1983. Welcome, everybody. Happy to have everyone here. Welcome. Before we get started, if we could all join me, please, in a moment of silence for all those who lost their lives in the tragic events 21 years ago, 2001. Thank you. Now, if you would please welcome current senior, Aquinas senior, Aleshka Diaz, who will lead us all in the national anthem. Aleshka.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Thank you, Aleshka. Now, if you would, please welcome Aquinas Director of Advancement, Joby Knapp.
Thank you, Paul, and welcome everyone to the 2022 Aquinas Hall of Fame. As Paul said, I'm Joby Knapp, our Executive Director of Advancement, and I want to thank you all for joining us on this very special evening. First off, I want to congratulate all of our inductees. Thank you. Thank you for staying involved with Aquinas. Thank you for embodying those virtues of goodness, discipline, and knowledge that are part of Aquinas once you're a student there, and obviously the example you've led since you've long left. The Aquinas Hall of Fame obviously is very special. And I'd like to also acknowledge those past inductees who have joined us this evening. Could all of our past inductees please stand up so we can give you a round of applause? Thank you all for being here. You obviously know how special this is, and I think it means a lot to this year's inductees that you all are here. As I said, it's very special to be part of something so special as Aquinas, but also to be part of our Hall of Fame. But leave it to our students to kind of make you think a little bit. So if you've been to Aquinas recently, the Hall of Fame now is on the first floor. And it's growing, so it takes up one wall. Now we've moved to the second wall. And I was doing something the other week, and a couple students were there, and I was talking to them about it. And one of the kids said something. He said, "Sheesh, Mr. Knapp, seems like there's a lot of people in this Hall of Fame." Said it in typical way that a kid says it. And I'm like, well, no, Aquinas has been around since 1902, 120 years. But he did get me thinking. So I want to make my mother proud, former math teacher at Aquinas. And I did a little digging in some numbers. So I'll give you a quick breakdown. Let's think about the number of alumni. We've been saying 19,000 for a while now. Total alumni since we were Rochester Catholic and then Rochester Cathedral and then Aquinas. So I'm gonna be a little generous with my numbers. Sorry, Mother. 20,000. Okay? And then we've got our friends of Aquinas. All of the Basilians, the Sisters of St. Joseph, people like Kathy Lind, who didn't graduate from Aquinas, but was on our board of trustees and was instrumental in bringing young ladies to Aquinas back in the early 80s. Then we have our parents, totally committed to sending their children and entrusting us with their education. We've got faculty, staff, and coaches, some of which are in the Hall of Fame: Ray Manuzak, Mary Lou Knapp. And then we also have benefactors who didn't go to Aquinas, but continue to give to Aquinas because they believe so strongly in what we do. And that list goes on and on. So now I tallied it up. Peel back the onion, looked at our database, and I think it's safe to say in our community, since 1902, we're probably about 35,000 strong. Okay, so now as we host our 36th ceremony and induct members 186 through 194 in our Hall of Fame, you put those numbers up against 35,000, and we're at 0.0055. So less than 1% of the people in our Aquinas community are in the Hall of Fame. So that is something that makes it so special, because I don't think that when, I'll use Sister Dora as an example. Sister Dora works in our community service in our college counseling center. I don't think when Sister Dora sets out and helps our students, she's going, man, I really want to get into that Aquinas Hall of Fame. Or when Mike Nuccitelli served on our board of trustees as president, he wasn't going, that's going to get me in there. Coach Ruff, I think we might know why Wakili Moore didn't pass that much, though. I think he may have had an agenda to try to get in the Hall of Fame when he played for you. Wak, I'm kidding. I'm kidding completely. But seriously, it makes me question and think about what's so special. What's so special that we stay connected and involved with Aquinas, give back, and help out when our beloved alma mater asks? Why do we give each year to the Aquinas Fund? Or gather with your class like many of you did this past weekend for reunion weekend? Or proudly belt out the lyrics to the alma mater, even though for some of us we're cracking windows or making cats squeal? It also makes me think, well, why does someone who didn't go to Aquinas, but for 29 years has loved every single minute that I've stepped in that building? And as I think about that, I don't think I can answer that for you justly. So I've asked someone to help me. Madison Wegman, can you come help an old man out, please? Because let's be realistic. She's the reason. Alishka's the reason. Jake Wiepert's the reason back there. Emma Peterson's the reason back there. Audrey LeBlanc. They're the reason that we love this place so much.
Thank you, Mr. Knapp. Hello, everyone. My name is Madison Wegman. I am a senior this year and the president of the Aquinas student body. I was asked to speak to you all today as a current Aquinas student and as a representative of the Aquinas student body. I'm excited to have this pleasure of speaking with you all today and want to start by congratulating all of the Hall of Fame inductees on this special accomplishment. Each of you are an incredible role models to the Aquinas community. Aquinas is based upon the values of goodness, discipline, and knowledge. You have all proven to exemplify these core teachings and continue to inspire Aquinas students and faculty to follow in your footsteps. I've attended Aquinas since 7th grade and truly believe I could not have picked a better place to be. Aquinas provides a rigorous academic curriculum, as well as commendable instruction in character development and spiritual growth. Over the years, I have truly learned to appreciate the impact that Aquinas academics and teachings has had on my life. Academics at Aquinas flourish as a result of the teachers who put their all into engaging students and getting them excited to meet and exceed their potential. It's the extra time and effort that the teachers give at Aquinas that makes each student feel valued and special. Aquinas is designed as a college preparatory school. As I begun my college application process, I realized how well Aquinas has prepared me to succeed in my higher education post-high school and into my future. In addition to the premier academics, Aquinas offers a wide array of sports, clubs, and activities that foster a positive and connected community. The extracurricular activities at Aquinas provides an opportunity for students to explore and excel in their areas of interest. They allow for creativity, personal growth, self-discipline, and teamwork. These activities also bring the Aquinas community together, foster school spirit, and support encouragement among students, faculty, and families. In addition, one cannot attend Aquinas without being presented with the opportunity to develop their personal relationship with God. Aquinas cultivates countless opportunities to grow in our faith, which sets our high school apart as it allows for students to evolve their faith, character, and relationship with God. The values and principles taught throughout our time at Aquinas, not only in the curriculum, but in the daily activities and interactions with each other, makes Aquinas a unique place to be. Repeatedly, it has been said that the Aquinas community feels like family. This resonates in many ways and is one of the reasons Aquinas is so special to me. As is the case with many people who currently attend Aquinas, my grandparents, parents, cousins, and siblings have all walked through those halls and sung the alma mater. While this in itself makes Aquinas so special to me, it is the relationships, connections, encouragement, and traditions that has exceeded my expectations of what family truly means at Aquinas. You are all here today to be recognized for your incredible contributions to Aquinas. It is alumni and Aquinas community members like you that continue to inspire greatness at Aquinas. On behalf of the Aquinas student body, I would like to thank you and once again congratulate you on your accomplishments. Thank you.
Thank you, Madison. That was wonderful, wasn't it? Now, if you would, please welcome Sister Eileen Daly, who will lead us in grace.
I know you're in the middle of your salads and your rolls, but if you could just take a moment and just quiet yourself inside. At a time like this where there's so much going on in the world, think of the blessings that each one of us have in our family, in our lives, in our faith, in our school, in our children, in all of the areas of our life that are positive. And I think if you do anything that God is asking you to do, you know that you're going to ask God to give you grace and blessings to give to others. Because what we have, we need to share. And I truly believe that Aquinas is a whole idea is asking us to do that. So I would ask you to really dig deep inside of ourselves these days and say, what can I do? Where can I be that I need to be? And at this point, let us just do the regular, bless us, O Lord, in these thy gifts, which we are about to receive from thy bounty through Christ our Lord. Amen. Enjoy your dinner.
Thank you, Sister Eileen. Thank you also for the special dispensation that because we were out of order there. Everyone enjoy dinner. We'll talk in a little while. All right, if we could have everyone return to their seats, we'll get to the reason why we are here tonight. As the saying goes, there's one constant in life, and that is change. With Aquinas Institute, that's a little bit different. Our alums go on to leadership roles and individuals who play prominent roles in our community. That is something that has remained the same throughout the years. Joby was referring to that earlier. Tonight's group that we are taking into the 2022 Hall of Fame class continues that tradition. We're going to celebrate each of them individually, but if you would join me, please. Let's acknowledge the 2022 Hall of Fame class here at Aquinas Institute. Our first inductee took lessons from the ground floor and used those understandings to take a business to a worldwide stage. As a teenager, Mike Nuccitelli was hired by his dad, the late John Nuccitelli, to wash windows and perform other odd jobs after school and during the summers at Nationwide Precision Products Corporation. 3 years after his graduation from Clarkson University, Mike was named president of that same Nationwide Precision Products, and under his watchful eye, the corporation's sales grew by 500%. He has since used that experience with Parlec Incorporated, Omega Tool Measuring Machines, and Century Mold Corporation. Omega and Century Mold currently have 8 locations around the globe with 900 employees and annual sales of $200 million. In 1995, Mike was named the Small Business Person of the Year for the Western New York region by the U.S. Small Business Administration. In 2006, he received the International Business Leader of the Year award from the Rochester International Business Council. He's been inducted into the Rochester Tooling and Machining Hall of Fame, and in 2014, he was a recipient of the Greater Rochester Award for Board Leadership by the Rochester Regional Health and received the Herbert W. Vandenbroel Entrepreneurial Award from RIT. Not to be overlooked in all this, Mike was also known for a few bone-crushing checks along the blue line as a member of the Little Irish hockey team. Please welcome distinguished alumnus from the class of 1980, Michael Nuccitelli.
Well, thank you, everybody, and it's quite a humbling honor to have the Distinguished Alumni Award. First, I want to thank everybody here tonight, thank my family for coming out strong and supporting me. Greatly appreciated. Thank all the past inductees for being here, and congratulate the current inductees for their honor tonight. It truly, truly is a special place, Aquinas. So, I did have 8 varsity letters. So I kind of started wondering why I wasn't inducted as an athlete. It took me to be a distinguished alumni to actually be inducted. And then Erica, I read your bio, and Coach, I read your bio. And, if you read their bios, you know why I wasn't inducted as an athlete, for sure. But as part of getting the Distinguished Alumni Award, I got to speak at graduation this year. And I was on the board for 15 years, was board chair for 5 years, and graduation was always my favorite day. Because when you watch the kids, you see the smiles on their face, you see the excitement, you see the enthusiasm, and you see the parents and the aunts and uncles and grandparents and everybody else who's there, and you see the looks and how the proud faces, that's what it's all about. That's what Aquinas is all about. And I've been involved, besides, with Aquinas, as a volunteer since my mid-20s. And I did tell one quick story at graduation, about my dad, who was a 55 grad who passed away this year. And back then, Aquinas was $75 a year. I know, right? That would be great for... and he could only come up with, I think, $40 or $50 of the $75. And somehow, some way, Aquinas found a way for him to attend the school that he wanted to attend to. He lived on Orchard Street in the city back then. And you know what? That really is the Aquinas way, right? So if you think about why you spend the time doing what you're doing, how you spend the time, and what the outcome is, and, Joby said it earlier, you do it because of the kids. You do it because of the opportunity to give somebody a great place to have an education, give somebody the opportunity to be with our 20,000 plus alumni and 15,000 plus other people, or 35,000 strong. It gives them a sense of being in a sense of community. So, you know what? When somebody asks me, why do you do it? That's why you do it. You do it for the kids. You do it for Aquinas. You do it because it's a great place, and you really, really can make a difference. And, when I think about making a difference, I also had the experience in 2010 of working with the Sisters of St. Joseph, who are also being inducted this evening. And I was the board chair at the time, and myself and Mike Daly were discussed with the sisters, the future of Nazareth and how we can make them part, of the Aquinas family, but how we can also keep the traditions of Nazareth alive. I'm so proud that I'm in a class with the sisters because to me, it was a bold, bold move by the sisters, to be able to do that because of the history of the Sisters of St. Joseph and education. But, I'm so glad that they are part of an Aquinas tradition. And the sisters are always very present. They're part of our committees, they're around school. And that's just the most wonderful thing. So, to point out the sisters in particular, congratulations, because you know what, I'm really, really proud you're part of the family. So just in closing, and I told everybody I'm going to keep it short because I know it's Sunday night, and some of you probably want to go home and watch the late football game or something. But when you do something in life, do something that means something to you. And when you do something that means something to you, it won't be time, it won't be a labor, it'll be an honor to do it. Thank you very much.
Mike will receive the Distinguished Alumnus Medal, along with his Hall of Fame plaque. Our next inductee continues the theme of turning a part-time job into a leadership role. Jack Peters started working at Wegmans while he was a student at Aquinas. Stocking shelves, mopping floors, and unloading tractor trailers was his introduction to a company that he helped become one of the 100 best companies to work for, as named by Fortune magazine. After attending St. John Fisher, Jack continued to work at Wegmans, going through the ranks, starting as a store manager and buyer, and eventually becoming the head grocery buyer and director of Wegmans brand. He was also the director of grocery, dairy, and frozen, before ultimately becoming vice president of store operations, a role that included managing 100 stores, 102 stores to be exact, and 50,000 people. His Ask Jack initiative allowed employees to reach out to him directly with questions and comments, contributing to that positive work environment. During his time at Wegmans, he has served on a number of United Way committees, including a tenure on the board of directors from 1999 to 2002. Jack and his wife, Donna, have been TROCO members, and he has been on the St. John Fisher University Board of Trustees since 2007. Jack, Donna, and their daughters have also established the De Peters Family Center for Innovation and Teaching Excellence at St. John Fisher University. And not to be overlooked, Jack's reception in the 1967 game against McQuaid was the difference when the Little Irish beat the Jesuit Knights that night. For distinguished career, please welcome from the class of 1969, Jack De Peters.
Nice job. Thank you all. I'm honored and humbled and proud to have received this award. I'd like to thank the Aquinas Institute Board of Trustees for this honor. I also want to congratulate all the other recipients this evening and thank them for their contribution both to Aquinas and to the community that we serve here in Rochester. I want to thank my lovely wife Donna for 49 years, who I met ice skating at Maplewoods Park. And you remember, they may be too young out here. And my two daughters, Sarah and Laura, and my son-in-law Sean. And all my friends, many are here today that I actually went to high school with, who still have great stories. And have been so gracious with their time and effort and guidance for me. I believe no award is ever won by one person, so I would like to dedicate this award to the Aquinas community, both near and far. I've always been inspired by the quote from Jesse Owens, who was a 4-time gold medal Olympiast in the 1930 Olympics in track and field, kind of apropos that we're going to give a track award tonight here. And he said, when asked, how did he do this? How did he beat the best in the world? He said, we all have dreams, but in order to make dreams come into reality, it takes an awful lot of effort, determination, dedication, and self-discipline. I also want to thank the Sisters of St. Joseph because they also were, I was educated by them from kindergarten to 8th grade. My dad, when I think about effort, I always think of my father. He was an orphan, had no family at age 3. He was sent to a work farm. Became a ward of the county. And he grew up there. I mean, he could have chosen any path to go because he had no guidance. But he chose to work hard. His family was the most important thing to him. He led it with his actions and kindness. He was a man of few words, and I've always hoped in my life that I've been able to model his way of life every day. When I think of determination, I was fortunate enough to spend many hours with Bob Wegman. Many a lesson was taught to me on our Saturday drives around our stores. Bob instilled in me high standards, to always take care of our people, no matter what it was. And they in turn would take care of our customers, which is so true. There's no truer statement. Bob taught me how to be a good listener, to use our resources, to empower others, and to be attentive to detail. He taught me that many people look, but few see. I can only hope I made him proud. The Wegman family continues that dedication. Both Danny, Colleen, and Nicole have continued the mission of good people working towards a common goal can accomplish anything they set out to do. Dedication to me is a tremendous meaning for myself. It means loyalty and trust. It's developed over time. My 8 years with the Bazillions and my 52 years with Wegmans gave me the confidence to take risks, grow, and become the best leader I could be for our employees in our community. Who here that went to Aquinas freshman day didn't meet a Bazillion who later became a mentor for them for their 4 years and even on after that? I know I did. There were many, and I'm thankful for that. Self-discipline. My years at Aquinas, the Bazillions taught me self-discipline. I don't know if you can all remember this, but as a freshman coming from a little grammar school, not knowing anyone because Aquinas drew from all over the city, you got assigned a seat to sit in. And the next day of school, if you weren't in that right seat, there was a little trouble to pay, as those might remember, jugs and things like that. But I can remember one time going home after the first 2 weeks at Aquinas, getting myself in a little trouble and maybe receiving a jug or two. And news always traveled faster than you could back then, and my mother was already aware, and my father was there, of course. And I quickly said, well, they got the wrong guy. It wasn't me, Dad. You know, they made a mistake. The priest didn't understand it right. And my father quickly said, son, the Bazillions are much closer to God than you and I will ever be. Therefore, you are wrong. And that was my self-discipline for the rest of my career. I got no more jugs. The truth is, though, the Bazillions taught me how to get to heaven. It's a lesson I carry my whole life. The Bazillions taught me that the secret to get to heaven is always think about others before you think of yourself, and then you're on your way. Thank you very much.
So Jack and I have in common the Sisters of St. Joseph, Maplewood Park, ice skating rink. I'm not sure I got up there to the same level with the Wegmans, though. Our next inductee, I feel kind of funny introducing him because I think everybody knows him. Our next inductee has taken his gifts and talents and used them for the better of those around him. After Aquinas, Dr. Vito Quatala graduated from the University of Rochester before continuing his education at Northwestern University Medical School. After residencies at the Medical Center of Vermont and Northwestern, he completed fellowships at Tulane University and Oregon Health Science University. Dr. Quatala returned to Rochester and in 1992 began a historical restoration of the Lindsay family home on East Avenue, transforming those grounds into what is now known as the Quatala Center for Plastic Surgery, Quatala Center for Hair Restoration, Lindsay House Surgery Center, and Q, the medical spa at the Lindsay House. He has since added a second location in Victor. Dr. Quatala has been the past president of the American Academy of Facial Plastic and Reconstructive Surgery, as well as president of the International Federation of Facial Plastic Surgery Societies, among other accomplishments. Vito's work has been a constant source of help and aid in our community for more than 3 decades. For distinguished career, please welcome from the class of 1971, Dr. Vito Quatala.
Thank you, everybody. I'm deeply honored and grateful to Aquinas Institute for this meaningful recognition and for the Christian values that I learned that were threaded throughout the Aquinas curriculum. I believe in life that we are always acquiring new capabilities that open unexpected doors that lead to more capabilities. Persistence in this process leads to a discovery of a passion in your life. This passion often guides us to find a purpose or meaning for what we do. Pablo Picasso summarized it in a quote, which goes like this: "The meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose in life is to give it away." When we first started schooling, our capabilities were very limited to potty trained, few table manners, and maybe we were conversational in command of the English language. My children were lucky. They got an early start with nursery school. My first memory of school, however, was very different. I was born of immigrant parents, raised in Little Italy in New York City. We lived with our grandparents, and English wasn't spoken at home. My parents were unaware that nursery school or kindergarten even existed. And so when I started first grade, I didn't speak English. Not having my parents to teach me English or Google or the internet, I relied on television and radio to rehearse pronunciations so I wasn't ridiculed at school. There was an extensive discussion between my teachers and parents about whether that make me repeat first grade or second grade, but somehow I squeaked by. So as you can imagine with my background, the standardized exams were not my forte, but somehow I passed the Aquinas entrance exam. Aquinas' culture was steeped in tradition. My cousins went to Aquinas. I wanted to go also, despite the fact that I lived a half a mile from Bishop Kearney and I had to take 2 city buses to get to Aquinas every day. I'm deeply indebted to my parents, Charlie and Elisa, who with a second grade U.S. education, which they got at night school, accomplished a tremendous amount. They taught me the value of a strong work ethic, honesty, discipline, to always do the right thing, and to treat people with respect. These values later would be reinforced as they resonated precisely with Aquinas' belief statements. What I didn't realize was that during my most formative years, Aquinas was about to teach me the most important set of capabilities. I was so prepared by Aquinas for all the academic rigor that the University of Rochester and Northwestern Medical School had to offer. 4 painful years of Latin with Father Burke at Aquinas made medical terminology a breeze. But more than that, I was prepared for life itself, how to interact with people, and most important, how to give back. These lessons culminated for me in my Aquinas senior year when I helped lead the Hike for Hope in Rochester for all high schools. In 1971, unbelievably, the Rochester community pledged $600,000 in pledges for the Hike for Hope that year, which went to supporting the SS Hope ship, which did surgeries that were performed all over the world. That 25-mile hike that day was capped by a concert that I helped stage at Aquinas' Holliday Stadium with Lou Gramm, Black Sheep, and Chuck Mangione. Now I'm really dating myself. But after completing my head and neck surgical residency and facial plastic surgery fellowships, I started as faculty at the University of Rochester. And with the principles of my faith and educational instruction as the foundation of my business model, I was in no time busier than my wildest dreams. After 13 years of cultivating capabilities away from Rochester, I was back home pursuing my passion in the truest sense of the word. Now, after 37 years of clinical practice, I am as passionate as I've ever been about facial plastic surgery and promoting its education here and abroad. As the current president of the International Federation, I am helping standardize facial plastic surgery and education curriculum and certification in over 40 countries. Earlier, I said that your passion often leads you to your purpose or a higher meaning in life. Aquinas' beliefs taught us that providing service to others and treating all children as equal and deserving in the eyes of God is an expression of Christ's love for us. Through my founding of the Hugs Foundation, an acronym which stands for Help Us Give Smiles, in 2001 here in Rochester, we now provide facial plastic surgeries for needy children all over the world. In 20 plus years and over 50 trips, we've been able to perform more than 3,000 surgeries to correct birth defects such as cleft lip palates and microtia, which is a missing ear deformity, in Ecuador, Guatemala, and Vietnam. I'm also very blessed to have a very supportive family. My successes have not always kept me home, as my family, to whom this award truly belongs, can attest. I wish to thank my wife, Laura, my daughters Olivia and Francesca, and my son Chase for being great enthusiasts and passionate supporters. I would also like to thank my family and friends who are here for being supportive of all the endeavors and all the craziness I've tried to do throughout my life. They've always been right there for me. I can't say enough how deeply honored and humbled I am to receive this award. I thank Aquinas Institute for all that it's done for me, and all of you again from the bottom of my heart. May God bless.
And now, Dr. Quintala, a surprise and special video for you from your children who are not able to be here in attendance.
most compassionate, yet disciplined person that I know, and there is nowhere that is more evident than in your parenting.
Thank you for being such an amazing role.
And for having such an incredible impact on both local communities and those around the world.
We will forever be proud to call you Dad, and we love you so much.
Congratulations again. You deserve it.
Go Sox. During his high school career, our next inductee made a name for himself on the basketball court. Wakili Moore averaged 18 points per game his senior year and helped the Little Irish to the sectional finals. He went on to St. John Fisher, where he played for 4 years and was eventually named to Fisher's Hall of Fame in 2003. And probably like Mike, was wondering, when am I going to get the call? His accomplishments on the hardwood have merely served as an opening act, though. In 2000, Wakili was named assistant principal at school number 7, just a couple blocks south of 1127 Dewey Avenue. He later ascended to the role of principal at that same 10th Ward school. In 2011, he founded the Leadership Academy for Young Men, the first public all-male high school in the state. He has since served as principal of Theodore Roosevelt School number 43 and is currently in the same role at James Monroe Lower School. Through all this, Wakili still found time for his alma mater, serving as camp counselor at the basketball camps of the late Mike Dianetti from 1990 to 2005. And he also served on AQ's board of trustees for a decade. When I was going through school, I thought Mr. McGuire was easily the most intimidating man I had ever met. And I walked pretty straight. I can only imagine the young men at Leadership Academy when they were introduced to their principal. For meritorious service from the class of 1986, Wakili Moore.
Good evening, thank you. I want to start off with something, though, that's not really on my script, but so my brother at table number 2 is a McQuaid graduate. He played at McQuaid, and usually what I do, as you know, we played in football. We played McQuaid last Friday, and usually we win that game, and I usually text him immediately with the final score with a smiley face to dig it in, year after year. We were up 21-6. I was comfortable. I actually changed the channel. I came back just to find the score. I had it all punched in and ready to go. And then the next thing I know, it said 34-27 McQuaid with a smiley face. So I had to go, so I was upset about that. So I had to get him back. I had to dig all the way back to December 14th, 1985, my senior year, our senior year with the guys back at table number 8. And it said Aquinas 54, McQuaid 48. So let them hear that. Now, I failed to mention he didn't play in that game because he already graduated. But it still counts, right? I'd like to thank Gary Moxley, class of '88, I believe, who nominated me, had the belief in me to get this great honor. Also, I'd like to thank Joby Knapp, who made the call. And, you know, he's a jokester, so I actually thought it was a prank call. I said, you got me. But I appreciate him for that call. I'd like the Hall of Fame committee for selecting me. There's so many deserving people from Aquinas that deserve this, so it's an honor. And then before I go on, I would thank, again, my table too, the people that I love, that are close to me, Lee Wingo, Stephanie, my brother LD, my daughter, two of my kids, Nate and Alicia. My oldest son is not feeling well tonight, so he couldn't be here. I'm skipping Chris, I'll come back to him, okay? Thank you for being here. Also, so the main people, the reason why I'm here, why I've gotten this honor, Again, my parents, my brother, my coach, Mike Ruff, my teammates, and the school. Started with my parents. Couldn't have asked for better. I wish they were here tonight. I'm hoping they're proud of me. The biggest decision I felt they made for me is listening to me when I told them I was unhappy where I was and allowing me to come to Aquinas. So I really, I love that. And also, Mr. Sadler, who's over, I don't know what number table that is, but he actually held the meeting for me to come to Aquinas. He was a little bit too serious for me, but I thought he'd tell me yes, or us yes, when they're at the meeting, but we left, and then he called my dad and said we were in, so I appreciate that, Mr. Sadler. And congratulations to you. But again, choosing Aquinas, there's some guys at Sacred Heart that I remembered is why I came to Aquinas, Ralph Murthel, Eric Lowenguth, Paul Mansarella, Pat Moynihan. That's why one of the reasons I came to Aquinas, even though they cheated us out of a CYO championship, especially Eric. He knows what I'm talking about. But thank you for that. But going on to my brother, I couldn't have asked for a better brother. He put up with all of my shenanigans when we were growing up. He was the best player in our neighborhood. Eventually became the AGR Player of the Year in Rochester. So I looked up to him and tried to be like him. And we would play one-on-one games all the time, and he would destroy me all the time. But I would make up rules. My problem was I would start off lighting him up, and I would talk trash. I don't know why I would lose my mind, and he would get angry and just put it on me. I'd make up rules. Oh, you've dribbled 3 times, that's my ball. Or you've scored 10 times in a row, now it's my ball. I would just determine myself. I would say I'm the winner, and he was very gracious, and I thank him for his leadership. My coach, I'm not saying I'm a star, but he made me feel like a star, on and off the court. There's 2 things that he did to really motivate me over the years. The first one is when I came over to Aquinas, he said he was going to pick me up and go to school and play some pickup, and we did. And this is the way he motivated me, because I was feeling kind of good that night. I thought I shot it pretty well. We're driving home in his fancy sports car, and I saw a bunch of my friends on the street in the city. I said I told him to drop me off right in front of them, and they go, "Whoa, who is that?" I said, "That's my new coach. That's my new coach right there." And so I purposely, again, I thought I played pretty well that night. Purposely, I said, "Hey, coach, how did I play? How did I do?" He said, "Well," and right now I said, "Uh-oh." He said, "You shot it well, but you got to lose weight." Right. See how you're laughing? All of my friends fell out like Kevin Hart was performing. But that motivated me and got me going. The other way that he did this is junior year, the night before the first game at practice. I thought this was pretty cool until the end of it. He announced the starting 5, very dramatic, as you know, Mr. Coach Ruff is. He says, at guard, Eric Lowenguth. The other guard, Chris Thomas. Center, Jeff Budd, may he rest in peace. We love him. And then Al Pecora, he's here as well. And then I was ready. He says, at the other guard, Ralph Murthel. I said, what? So again, driving all the way home, Chris, who I drove with, reminded me the whole way home, "Hey, Walk, you're not starting? You're not starting?" I said, "No, you were at the same practice. You don't have to, But that didn't last long. The rest was history. And Coach, I thank you for everything. You were there when my father passed away in 2006, and you were there again in December when my mother passed away. So I thank you for everything. My senior teammates, Chris Thomas, Eric Lowenguth, Pat Moynihan, Paul Mansarella. Ralph is not here tonight, and Tim Reinders. And then the guy who wasn't a senior, but he's not here, Mike Whitfield, like a little brother to me. I thank them for everything, especially Eric, who gave me my unwanted nickname of Sugar Bear. Another quick story about Eric. Again, he was my roommate in college as well for a little bit. He's also like a brother to me. We still remain close. Again, I didn't talk too much on the court, unlike when I used to play against my brother, but I was feeling pretty good against Wilson for the city school championship, and I was feeling pretty good. They were at the foul line, and I tapped Eric and said, "Eric, give me the ball, just give it to me." And he says, "Relax." And he tapped me on the back. So that was pretty funny when he did that. Again, I wish, I think Paul mentioned We were the first, we got to the championship, first team in 65 years to get to the 65 championship. I wish we could have finished that off. We still talk about it when we see each other. But again, that was the best time of my life, those 2 weeks when we had that run. I think those guys will agree with that. Last but not least, what did this school do for me? Well, this school taught me to be competitive, to have courage, to fight when things are tough. I was actually in my senior year, I went into a AP stats class, which I had no business being in that class. There were guys in there like Paul Mansarella, and I remember I walked into that class. The first time I walked in, the whole class erupted in laughter. And I laughed too. I got relaxed. All right, guys, I'll be out of this class tomorrow. So I went to my counselor and said, I can't do this. My counselor said, no, me and your parents are in agreement. You're going to stay in this class. So I was stuck. And I scratched and I clawed and I sweated like I'm sweating right now. Through that class, that teacher pushed me so hard, and I fought to compete with those guys. And by the end of the year, I got the award for achievement in that class. I was pretty proud of that. So again, this is, like you mentioned, this is a meritorious award. So goodness and discipline and knowledge is what I got from Aquinas. Something that I've tried to give to the students that I've been with over the last 28 years. I'm forever grateful for being inducted into the Aquinas Hall of Fame. And again, I thank everyone. Thank you.
The influence of our next inductee has permeated the core of Aquinas Institute. In 1913, the Sisters of St. Joseph opened Cathedral High School. That school represents the predecessor of our alma mater. 42 Sisters of St. Joseph provided education at 1127 Dewey Avenue through the 1955-56 school year, amassing more than 365 years of combined service. In 1924, the land of our alma mater site was purchased from the Sisters of St. Joseph, and the order later provided land on Augustine Street, which has since become the site of our current athletic fields. With the closing of Nazareth Academy in 2010, the Institute and the congregation once again formed a partnership to take the two entities into the future. As noted by several of us, this is a special one for many of us who attended Catholic grammar schools and were taught by the Sisters of St. Joseph. For meritorious service, please welcome Congregational President of the Sisters of St. Joseph, Sister Eileen Daly.
I said, really, I don't need to say anything because an awful lot has been said about the Sisters of St. Joseph from each one of the inductees. So I want to thank you for your praise. We'll take it. It's okay. But I also want to say to you that we have this saying within the congregation that we stand on the shoulders of those who've gone before us. And that's who we stand on the shoulders of. These are the women that worked for all these years with each person in Rochester, no matter where the need was. I think really and truthfully, you know different Sisters of St. Joseph that are around the Rochester areas doing different things. And they started doing that right from the beginning. So I would say to you, thank you for the honor of recognizing the Sisters of St. Joseph. So it's not me up here, it's my congregation. But tonight we've got a table of 10 of our sisters over there who have really had some connection with Aquinas over these past years. So that we've got people that are there some of our sisters that are there that have been there and worked there, working with the service scholars, and are working there now with the service scholars. We had a sister there that began the Sisters of St. Joseph Women's Leadership Program, which was one thing that we did when we had the Nazareth girls come over, because we wanted to make sure that the Sisters of St. Joseph and the whole idea of the charism and the history of the Sisters of St. Joseph remained there, that we could continue to do that. And it's still going on at this point. And we've had people that are there that have been and are now presently on the board, which is a very good thing, because that helps out with making sure that the Aquinas stays right on their toes and their task. And, working with assessments and checking for curriculum, futuring it. So we've always been there, The history is amazing, because the Aquinas, it started out as a diocesan school, and it was really way back in 1871. And it wasn't called Aquinas at that point in time. It was called the Cathedral School, and it was at St. Patrick's Cathedral. And as it was stated, 42 sisters have been there from 1902 right through 1955-56 school year. I think Sister Agnes Catherine was the last sister of St. Joseph that had taught at Aquinas, and she passed away maybe 10 years ago, something like that. But she was still around, talking about her time for him at Aquinas as well. We also had 21 Mercy Sisters. I want to give them their due as well, that they were part of that whole thing. But the diocese ran the school until the Basilians decided that they would like to, they worked there, but then they decided they were going to take over the school in 1937. And, anyone that is from the Maplewood area, you're from the area originally or family, the Sisters Woods? Okay. Well, that was originally from the mother house, and then it was really the beginning of Nazareth College as well. And that area then became the ground that the Basilians built their whole thing onto as well. And when they were moving out, we had looked at it again to see if we wanted to move in and take over some part of their old place and see if we could do something, but we couldn't. But I think it is a very good use right now that it is the sports field. And I think that extends back out for there. The joint commitment to Catholic education in the city of Rochester continues to be of prime importance to both Aquinas and to the Sisters of St. Joseph. And as we continue that commitment, Aquinas is continuing on, as is Nazareth Elementary School and Flower City Park, still in the Maplewood area and still committed to city education. We are so grateful that we have the two combined places right there that take care of children that need good education. I just want to thank you to really be able to continue to know that this is where our time is going to be, our hearts are going to be, is in the education of children. And thank you for at least recognizing and honoring the Sisters of St. Joseph in the past, the present, and hopefully into the future. So thank you, one and all.
I'd like to think that I'm a proper representative of the foundations of education provided by the Sisters of St. Joseph, but as Sister Margaret Mancuso can attest, penmanship is still a work in progress. For those of us who can remember the previous gymnasium at 1127 Dewey Avenue, the athletic director's office occupied a space in the corner at the foot of a small set of stairs heading out to the back parking lot. The placard on the door referred to this room, a room without any windows, if I may add, as an office. Otherwise, it could have been mistaken as a closet. Its occupant, Mr. Dennis Sadler, kept the door to this room opened. Opened perhaps out of a need for daylight. It helps once in a while. But make no mistake, Mr. Sadler was always there to greet each of us with words of encouragement and praise. It was clear that while we were students at Aquinas, we are also treated like family. It is only fitting that this patriarch and his lineage take their rightful spot in the Hall of Fame. Beginning with Dennis's parents, Alice and Gerard, members of the Sadler family have served on the Aquinas Parents Association, worked bingo, and helped with security. Karen Sadler, Dennis's wife, founded the Aquinas cheerleading program. Daughters Carrie and Kelly later guided that squad. Rare is the occasion when an event occurs on the Aquinas campus without a Sadler family member present. Please welcome, from the class of 1991, Tricia Sadler.
All right, this can't be that bad. I deal with 6th grade all day. This is easy. All right, so on behalf of my parents, Karen and Dennis, sisters Jennifer, Katie, Carrie, Kelly, and Tracy, brothers-in-law Mark and Nick, family, and Dave, family and friends, I want you to all know how grateful and humbled we are by this honor. I also need to give a shout out to my nieces and nephews who would have loved to be here, but in our tradition, it is a school night. So Haley, Mackenzie, Hunter, Sydney, Gerard, Lucy, Adel, and Lager. They quickly have learned how much Aquinas means to our family, and of course, Grandma and Grandpa. I need to thank the Hall of Fame Committee, Advancement Team, Board of Trustees, our colleagues at Aquinas, former staff, coaches, alumni, current students, and supporters. It is you that make Aquinas what it is. 50 years ago, the journey began for my parents. Married in April, my dad began teaching at Aquinas that same year and moved to an apartment on Dewey Avenue, just down the street from Aquinas. I guess 410, as a security number is, began his role as campus safety all those years ago. In all honesty, in those 50 years, I don't know that there were many a days my dad wasn't on campus. Aquinas has blessed our family in the same sense that for many families, parents go to work, children go to school, especially during high school, and they meet up for dinner. We, on the other hand, spent many days, evenings, and weekends together at 1127. And we're lucky enough if everyone was home for dinner, right, Mom? Yes, it became a running joke as kids, as Dad would call and say, "I'm just walking out the door." We quickly learned this meant he'd be home in about an hour. He would always find one more thing to do. Stop at one more game, or talk with one more student or staff member. I began to wonder if he parked at the bazillion residence out back. Through the years, our family grew, and so did our role at Aquinas. We quickly learned that no job is too small, and you do what it takes to get it done. The work ethic and loyalty to we, as we often call it, the Institute, is probably why myself and my sisters have been at the same employer for so many years. Yes, my mom and dad instilled this in us, but as students and athletes at Aquinas, we were taught to see things through. If we ever had to write a skill set on our resume, thanks to my parents, especially my dad, we could all add concession stand worker with the fun popcorn machine, field gym setup, lining up all the line markers at football field, copy and collate, yes, Tracy, every single student schedule, one by one, locker setup, putting a locker on every lock, make sure you put the code right, security, Kelly, go down and jiggle those handles, soda machine filler, you did get one free soda, Aquinas also afforded us with many opportunities many children only wish they had, including Dad bringing the big bus home, your parents handing you your high school diploma, getting to play on a stage, the gym, even the chapel, a ride to and school from every day. You never had to take a bus. My mom, too, quickly became an integral part of Aquinas, supporting my dad in all his crazy hours, but also being the first cheerleading coach at Aquinas when it became co-ed. She built the program from the ground up. In a few short years, she was able to expand it to full teams of 20 on 3 levels. She brought in alum to coach in her tenure, made the program competitive in Section 5, but more importantly, instilled values in the young women she coached. Hundreds of alum from Aquinas were influenced by her caring heart, tough love, and guidance. She also inspired many to continue coaching, including 4 of her daughters. When my mom gave up her role as coach, she quickly became a team mom to softball and cheer teams, moved into a role in the library and counseling center. People say, you had 6 children? No, she had 600 plus. She helped so many students, parents, and co-workers with advice, love, and just a listening ear. I could go on with stories about Aquinas, and for the most part, they are good. And even times when things became challenging, it was then we learned from my parents what grace and loyalty is about. When my dad asked me to speak today, he gave me a couple words of advice. Keep it short and not about him or mom. I hope I kept it short enough, but you can correct me on the way home, Dad. This is about you, Mr. and Mrs. Sadler, a role model pair. You have done so much for the family and Aquinas. A day doesn't go by that one of us doesn't meet someone who shares a positive memory about one of you. Colleagues respected you. Students and parents were influenced and impacted by your commitment to their child's education. I proudly hope I am carrying on this tradition in my current role as 6th grade teacher at Aquinas. You both are legacies here. In the words of one of your favorite musicians, Dad, Barry Manilow, looks like we made it. Yes, my parents are humble, but you deserve this honor. So I will end with this poem, a tribute to you. The impact can't be measured by a plaque on a wall. If the halls could talk, they would share it all. Commitment to Aquinas, more than most. Family, students, colleagues, and alum, our parents, always gracious hosts. They reminded us to do our best and be proud of what you do. They truly did that for AQ. They shared the values in which we were taught. Humble, loyal, supportive is what they saw. So thanks, Mom and Dad, we owe this to you. Our hearts are grateful and full. God bless AQ.
Our next inductee spent just 3 years at Aquinas, but the late coach, Harry Mickey Connolly, left an indelible mark on the Little Irish football program. Playing in the newly minted Aquinas Memorial Stadium against a national schedule, including teams from Texas, Nebraska, Michigan, New Jersey, and other parts of the country, Connolly's Gritters posted a record of 21 wins and 3 losses over those 3 seasons. His 1950 Aquinas team reached the #1 national ranking. 3 of Connolly's players, Don Hollader, Jack Lee, and Frank Vericoni, went on to earn All-American honors in college. Vericoni and Lee Riley later played in the NFL, with Vericoni earning 4 Pro Bowl nominations in an 11-year professional career. Connolly later became the backfield coach at Indiana University and head coach at Xavier University. He eventually served as athletic director at Southeastern Massachusetts University, where he was one of the first administrators in the nation to promote women's equality in college athletics. Please welcome, from the class of 1951, speaking on behalf of Mickey Connolly, one of his players, Joe Miller.
As long as Aquinas has had athletics, it has found outstanding coaches for the many sports programs. This includes football, which began at Aquinas around 1931. John Sullivan became Aquinas' first football coach. Over the years, Aquinas has built a stellar reputation for finding exceptional people. In football, names like Harry Wright, Hunk Bottas, Joe Repko, and even today, Chris Battaglia and current coach Derek Anacino. Many of them have already been inducted into the Aquinas Hall of Fame. Today, we add another name to that list of our very best, Coach Harry Mickey Connolly. Prior to the 1947 football season, Aquinas made a strategic decision to upgrade its football program to one where they would only play the best high schools and prep schools anywhere in the United States. To do so, they hired renowned coaches wherever they could find them. Coaches Harry Wright and Mickey Connolly fit the bill. What did Father Cy Carter, Aquinas athletic director at the time, see when he looked at Mickey Connolly's resume? 5 sports star at Norwalk High School in Connecticut. All-state and all-New England player for 2 years. Attended Boston College and was ranked 4th in the United States as a freshman football player. 2nd as a sophomore when he played in the Sugar Bowl. And then in his senior year, he played in the Orange Bowl. Selected All-Eastern and received mention on several All-American teams. He was commissioned an ensign in the Navy, serving on a destroyer. He played professional football on the Brooklyn Dodger team in the All-America Conference and later became their head scout. He became the high school football coach in Notre Dame High School in East Haven, Connecticut, and then Aquinas. A number of sports writers and authors termed that time in Aquinas football as the glory years. It lasted 5 years, and the Little Irish were 14-1-1 in 1947 and 48 for Coach Wright, and 21-3 under Mr. Connolly from 1949 through 1951. As you heard, in 1950, they were ranked the #1 team in the nation. During this time, Aquinas built the Aquinas Memorial Stadium and played teams from Texas, Nebraska, Michigan, and New Jersey, as well as others, in front of 16,000 fans on average. Several of Coach Connolly's players have also been inducted into the Aquinas Hall of Fame, as was the entire 1950 team. A couple of quotes from the Aquinas football programs of that era. Connolly is much more than a good football coach. His charges learn lessons in manhood that are as much a part of his personal program as touchdowns. They learn teamwork, courage, sacrifice, and tolerance. During Coach Connolly's tenure, many Aquinas players received full college scholarships. Some were even starters. Notably, Jack Lee and Frank Veracchione at Notre Dame, Jim Campagna at the University of Georgia, Dan Klein at Michigan, Peter Klee, who was with us here tonight at St. Bonaventure, and Don Hollader at West Point. Frank, Jack, and Don earned All-American honors. Two went on to play in the NFL, Frank for 11 years, including 4 Pro Bowls, and Lee Riley for 6 years. Dave Warner, a DNC sports writer, once wrote about Coach Connolly in 1950. There must be that element of competition embedded in a player, so he will have a little left when a game might appear lost. Coach called it the smell attribute. Conditioning and discipline must be enforced at all times. Out of this comes that intangible thing called spirit, which Connolly coach teams so well exemplify. Aquinas decided to de-emphasize football after the 1951 season, and Mr. Connolly left to become backfield coach at Indiana University. He was later athletic director at Southeastern Massachusetts, where he was one of the first athletic directors to champion women's equality in college sports. Coach Connolly passed away in 2006 at age 85. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite up here to the stand with me one of those great players from those years. He played 2 years for Coach Connolly, Mr. Peter Klee. I might add that this sprightly young man working up here is 90 years old. Pete Klee and myself accept this honor on behalf of Coach Connolly, his family, and all of his players, both alive and deceased. Coach Connolly taught us how to be winners in football, but much more, how to be winners in life. Thank you, Coach, and thank you, Aquinas, for recognizing this great contributor to the Aquinas legacy.
Instead of shrinking under expectations, our next inductee added to a tradition of excellence at Aquinas. When Erica Henderson arrived at 1127 Dewey Avenue, championships were an annual occurrence for the Little Irish girls soccer team. Henderson added to those banners. A 4-year varsity performer, Henderson finished with 49 goals and 30 assists. And if I may add right now, those 49 goals and 30 assists were against no slouch of a schedule. She wasn't rolling up 5-6 goals against some weak teams. It was against the best in the state. She led the Little Irish to 3 sectional titles and 1 state championship, earning a pair of AGR selections, including Player of the Year recognition in 2006. Also while at Aquinas, Erica boxed for 4 years, earning the Freshman Fighter of the Night and Muhammad Ali Award as a senior. She went on to West Virginia University, where she helped the Mountaineers to 4 NCAA tournament appearances and 2 Big East titles. In 2010, Erica earned second team All-Northeast Region honors. She was drafted in the Women's Professional Soccer League and had a pair of stints with the Western New York Flash and another season playing professionally in Iceland. Erica has worked patrol for the Monroe County Sheriffs since 2016. Among her responsibilities include that of field training officer, defensive tactics instructor, physical training instructor, a general topics instructor, and a member of the crisis intervention team. Erica is also the Monroe County Sheriff's Office LGBTQ liaison. Please welcome the class of 2007, Erica Henderson.
Can you hear me? Papa, can you hear me? Okay. I have to ask him because he's been like over there trying to hear everyone. But you can. All right. So I have listened to every single person's speech that's come up here, and they have been amazing. So at the end of the day, I can just hope to follow suit and stand respectfully in front of everyone today. Firstly, I must say that I am incredibly humbled, honored, and at the same time very excited to be in your midst as the Aquinas Hall of Fame inductee today. As I do so, I wish to recognize the presence of the other inductees: Harry Connolly, Jack DePeters, Wakili Moore, Michael Nucitelli, Vito Quintella, the Sadler family, the Sisters of St. Joseph, and the 1976 track and field team, and congratulate them on their induction as well. I wish to recognize all of you in attendance here tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, my acceptance and receipt of this honor will not be complete without reminiscing what has led us here today. When I graduated Aquinas in 2007, I would have never dreamt to stand here in front of them, especially all the great athletes that have gone through the Aquinas program. Having entered in 2003, I was too well aware of all the statistics that came through Aquinas. You know, the state championships that the women's soccer, the girls soccer team had gone on to win, the sectional titles, and all those achievements. And I couldn't wait to be a part of it. When I started Aquinas, I knew I was like 12 years old running around. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's gonna be me. But I was like, you're little, but I'll figure it out someday. I thought that becoming a starter as a freshman was gonna be the tip of the iceberg, and little did I know it was gonna lead to so much more. Being a part of the boxing, soccer, and softball teams taught me so many important lessons that I still use today. My athletic success started with my family, who pushed me to work hard and to be a part of whatever sport that sparked my interest at the time. It didn't matter if it was hockey, baseball. Growing up, it soon turned into, well, you got to pick one for now and we'll figure the rest out. So it was soccer for a while. Then I got to Aquinas and it was like, well, I want to punch some things. So I got to box. And then I just wanted something else to do. So there came softball. But from there, my parents became, my teammates, my friends, the people that I not only looked up to, but I respected on such a level that built this cohesiveness that only generated success. And lastly, my coaching staff. And luckily enough for me, I have one of my greatest coaches sitting next to us today. Coach Dom taught us every day the goodness, the discipline, and the knowledge, and everything that Aquinas stands for. And that became necessary for success, not only individually, but as a team. By cultural standards, people look at success as how many goals can you score, how many games can you win, how many championships can you have. but being an Aquinas athlete taught you so much more. It was rooted in that goodness, that discipline, and that knowledge, and that translated into the hard work, consistency, and commitment that we have today. And yeah, of course, throughout the years, we had some success. You know, as a member of several sectional teams, state championship teams, rewarded success throughout those teams. Nothing compares to the experience gained from being a member of the Aquinas family. So again, I would like to pay tribute to all those being honored tonight and all those people here in attendance today. I want to thank my family and my friends who provided me with the love and support necessary to achieve this great milestone. And lastly, I would like to recognize the Aquinas Hall of Fame Committee and thank them for selecting me to be a recipient here tonight. Thank you.
Our final inductee tonight, the 1976 track and field team, won the first sectional title in school history. It'd be hard for us to believe it, that it didn't occur until 1976 because might be some private schools, some public schools, excuse me, that aren't real thrilled about private schools playing in sections. I know it's hard to believe. But led by individual champions Dan Mistrella and Eric McMichael, the Little Irish outdistanced Greece Arcadia, Madison, and Rush Henrietta for the championship. The sectional title capped a 4-year stretch that saw AQ go undefeated in head-to-head meets, compiling a record of 38 wins without a loss. When we're looking for a demonstration of excellence, we had it there in those 4 years. They won 4 consecutive City Catholic championships. Along with Mistrella and McMichael, the team was led by Randy Benjamin, Mike Lindsay, Bob Berkeley, Joel Bratt, Don Bergel, Rick Caulfield, Paul Contestable, Tim O'Sullivan, Bruce Bauer, Dave Sedita, Mike Schrader, and Rudy Kurz. Testament to the 76 team's lasting impact. Mistrella set a school record that still stands today. With a shot put of 59 feet, 6 inches, 6 3/4 inches. To put that mark into perspective, it was set in 1976. Mistrella came within 10 feet of the mark needed to win the gold medal at the Montreal Olympics later that year. 10 feet as a high schooler. Standing the test of time, please welcome the 1976 track and field team.
We haven't moved that slow in high school, we probably wouldn't want any. Well, thanks, Paul, and thanks to all who were on the committee who awarded us this honor. Thank you especially to Kelly Conlon for help pulling this whole thing together and getting us guys here. Before I start, I'd like to acknowledge a few guys that came back from out of town for tonight. Brian O'Connor from Norfolk, Virginia, Mark DeSheza from Atlanta, Eddie Fiorentino from Chicago, and Bob Onion from Malta. Thanks a lot for coming back, guys. A few years ago when the track was named for Father Wesley, my daughter said to me, "Dad, you sure have a passion for both track and field and Aquinas." Yes, I do. And tonight, I'm lucky. I get a few minutes to talk about both. So here we go. How many people here tonight know what a power Aquinas was in track and field over the years, and specifically back in the late 60s through the 70s? The Aquinas track and field record boards for boys and girls are at the entrance to the stadium. They were constructed when the track was named in honor of Father Wesley. When you do get some time, please take a look at those boards. The times and distances from the 60s and 70s are amazing. Our President Ray Shea is on that board. Current AQ students are so fortunate to have a beautiful track and field facility behind the school. All of us up here, and many alumni here tonight, have to laugh, however, when we think about what we had during our time at the school. Anyone remember a track back then? What I remember was maybe a one-lane dirt track behind the priest house. Maybe it was 400 meters, maybe it was 450, I don't know. It was uphill on the backstretch and downhill on the home stretch. Shot putters threw on the tennis courts next to the priest house. Jumpers were in the priest house parking lot. Distance runners ran through the woods. Not to worry, however, we did some of our practicing doing loops on the upper end of Seneca Parkway. And we jogged up to Jefferson High School many times and ran on a nice all-weather track. We had no home meets, but that didn't matter to any of us.
Who knew that when we entered the school as freshmen in 1972, that we would never be defeated as a track team? Spring track our freshman year, we had easily 50 boys out for the team. Most importantly, however, we had a fantastic coach, Hall of Famer Father Michael Wesley. One freshman meet in particular stands out to this day, all the guys. CBA of Syracuse, Christian Brothers Association, boasted a freshman team as large as ours, and we're on a 10-year undefeated streak. Our freshman team at the time was in the midst of a 6-year winning streak. Since we didn't have any meets locally, Father Wesley called their coach and he asked for a head-to-head competition meet. They accepted on the condition that we travel to Syracuse for the meet. So we piled 50 kids on the bus and headed off to Syracuse. Bottom line, it was a great meet. We went back and forth, very exciting, until the last event, the 1-mile relay, where we prevailed by a couple of points. We were only freshmen, but that meet served as an impetus for the next 3 years. 1973 proved to be a landmark year for Aquinas sports teams and all over Catholic schools as well. In the fall of '73, Catholic schools were finally allowed to compete for Section 5 championships. If that did not happen, you would not see the many banners that we have up in the gym today. Fast forward to the spring of '76. The varsity track team was on a 3-year dual meet undefeated streak. As the team started the spring season, pressure was on to keep the streak alive. At the time, we had another great coach, Eddie Mancuso, who was in his second year in charge, and we had many great assistants as well. We cruised to that season undefeated and crushed McQuaid, continuing the undefeated streak up to 38 meets. 4 years, never a dual meet loss. We were loaded with sophomore, junior, and senior talent that year. We had great sprinters, high jumpers, long jumpers, triple jumpers, hurdlers, pole vaulters, really good distance runners, half-mile, mile, 2-mile, every event. Although we were loaded with exceptional talent, we'd like to mention a couple athletes in particular who were sectional champs. First, Eric McMichael is not here tonight. Eric won the sectionals with a high jump of 6 feet 4 inches. You want to think about that. Second, of course, Danny Mastrella, one of the most dominant shot putters in Section 5 history. In track, he won the sectional indoors championships, 1975 and '76. Won the outdoor sectionals both years as well. And Dan still holds the 6th best shot put ever in Section 5 history with that 59-foot, 6-inch throw. Crazy to think after 46 years, he's still on the list. And I think you'll guess which guy is Danny Mistrella. It wasn't me. He's still got 1 or 2 shot, but they're still circumnavigating the globe. So.
Danny used to enjoy bench pressing us too.
Yeah, it's kind of a show off. Third, and Bob Berkery was the lead speaker here. Bob's pretty modest. A little about Bob. Bob ran every season of cross-country indoor track and outdoor track, so 12 seasons of running. His senior year, he ran the 2-mile in 9 minutes and 29 seconds. Now, for those of you who aren't really into track times, I'll try to make it a little clearer. It's like running a 4-minute and 45-second mile, and then coming to the finish line and someone telling you, run another one, and you ran 4:44 the next mile. Put another way, he had a 2-mile average speed of 12.6 miles per hour. This is confirmed by our team physicist, Dave Sedita. So if you ever get in your car and want to see how fast it is, set your speed control at 12.6 miles per hour, and you'll see how fast it is over 2 miles. Finally, the main reason tonight, in 1976, after 40 years of undefeated dual meets, June 5th, Brockport State, we finally won the first sectional title of any sport in AQ history, the Aquinas track team. Aquinas sports teams have won many sports championships since 1976, but one team had to win the first. That was us, the 1976 Aquinas track team.
Everyone, in closing, thank you very much. Everybody, if we could get up, please. Everybody up. We have some really good crooners, some really good singers as part of this 76 track team, and they're going to lead us in the alma mater. Bob Berkery, get us started, please. Everyone together. Here we go.
Now place of reverie, praise thee and uphold thee. In retrospection, we decide intention, always to strive for that which we were made for.
Thank you, everyone. Drive home safely. Forevermore.